ears from those players. Now, there's also a few like restrictions on that, like you have to be on 10, and the opponent level can't be too far apart. Like, yeah. But I think this is really cool. I like it a lot. Yeah, badass. Yeah, it's a little bit of flavor. Makes the game more interesting. It's good to see Blizzard coming out with ideas like this. All content bases available from the go. Holy shit, I didn't even know that. Everybody, so like everything just gets unlocked. Okay, that's awesome. Great. They say when it's coming, not until but I think this is probably a better idea. I wonder if they're going to have the day-to-day kilo. Um, I'm assuming probably not. I mean, I guess, well, I guess the day-to-day key will be open. Yeah, of course, right? Because the race is full to the death in classic WoW hardcore. And if you win, you get the ears from those players. Now, there's also a few like restrictions on that. 10, and the opponent level can't be too far apart. Like, yeah. But I think this is really cool. I like it a lot.
That's fucking crazy. You can collect ears.
Yeah, flavor makes the game more interesting. It's good to see Blizzard coming out with ideas like this. All content bases available from the go. Holy shit! I didn't even know that. Everybody, so like everything just gets unlocked. Wow. Okay, that's awesome. Great. Did they say when it's coming? Not until think it is, but I think this is probably a better idea. I wonder if they're going to have the gates of AQ open. Um, I'm assuming probably not. I mean, I guess. Well, I guess the gates of AQ will be open. Yeah, of course. This race video. What am I thinking? Yeah, duh. And so, okay, that's good. Play nice, play fair. Oh, here we go. So this is for anti-grieving measures. Gameplay disruption, malicious player killing us consensual PvP not be tolerated in our foregrounds. By this, we mean deliberate action to hamper or significantly impede the ability of other players to enjoy the game, such as, but not limited to, repeatedly killing quest NPCs or guiding important quest ops far away from their spawn location to prevent them from being killed. Most importantly, this includes taking actions to deliberately cause the death of another player, such as, but not limited to, hiding higher level or elite mods on nearby players with the intent that they take damage and die, or deliberately causing the life of a player to a dungeon breach. This is not a PvP realm, and all PvP rules do not in any way apply to this realm. Outside of normal rules for death, consensual PvP flagging, or war games, killing other players isn't the core goal of hardcore gameplay. Players are found to make the goal of the style of play. We reserve the right to take immediate and decisive action against anyone found to be deliberately causing this disruption, including permanent account closure. Wow. Good. You skip the battleground part? Yeah. But trolling equals fan. Yeah. I mean, that's what. The thing is, I'm so glad that Blizzard is finally treating their players like adults. Because like you have these people that are obviously sometimes acting with like the worst intentions, and they're like, "Oh, what do you? Oh, I just wanted to kite the mom around. I mean, what? I can't use my buttons? Everybody knows what you're doing. Yeah, not pussyfooting with people anymore. Yeah, thank God. It's so annoying. It's so like ridiculous, honestly. So yeah, let's see here. On the flip side of this, report bombing or intentionally using a rule set to attempt to get their account action will also be technically death can and will happen in gameplay and retaliation or resort to bullying abuse in which gameplay deaths are not appropriate. For example, if you're in a dungeon group and the tank ends up taking too much damage, dies despite the efforts of the group,
There we go, boys. Now I got everything retitled.
I think that it's like it's just so hard to know like where this line is, because like if you didn't like a tank, you could just not cast a heal for 5 seconds, right? And then cast a really long heal or heal the wrong person. Like it would be impossible for you to know outside of like mega examples, like pulling a boss and then like leading a group or something like that. It would be very hard to find like really good examples of or like you know, like the gray area of like, was somebody doing this on purpose or not? I bet it's like impossible to figure that out. But, you know, I think that in general, it's mainly open world stuff. A lot of the people that are bad actors, it's pretty obvious. So yeah. That's all my time for your friend. Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Ultimately, it's critical to develop these realms of players playing nice and fair with one another, with hostile or abuse factions, and encourage players very seriously on character creation, readable, as well as the rules around behavior. So now you have to find social contracts. Right. I don't know really what else to say, but yeah, what do you guys think? Nothing on death announcements in game. Yeah, but that's because so like if you were doing a death announcement, like if I was a gold farmer, I would do a bot and I would have the bot program to get to level 10 by like putting my level 3s or like whatever the lowest level is, and then I would build characters over and over and over. So I could do a global advertisement. Go to seasonexpress.com. So yeah, like I think it makes sense that they're not able to do death announcements. And they're in guild. Yeah, I think that's perfect. Set min level. Yeah. Well, then you still have people that could do an announcement that like something really bad. It's announced to everybody and then Blizzard looks bad. So it's just better. What about Petri Blast? They're probably not going to do anything about it. The truth is that Diablo 4 also has set saves. So I mean, the truth is that like hardcore WoW is like a very complex game, and even with Petri Blast, you can sometimes die, right? Like what happened to that Thunder Fury warrior with Nats. So I don't think that they need to remove Petri Blast. Like I really don't think so. I don't think it's a big deal, and I think that the people that that will actually affect, it's like how many, what percent of people are actually going to make it to 60? Basically zero. Petri Blast cost a lot too. Yeah, and like there is a cost to making it. Let's see what this says here. Blizzard will not be making any changes to classification or dropping through and being teleported out of an environment. Yeah, I think that's totally fine. Yeah. Okay. I don't think Petri Blasts are a big deal. Wow. Like, am I crazy? I really just don't think so. If they remove Petri Blast, people just go for the next useful thing, aka infinite mana on progress, maybe. Yeah. And remove Vanish too. Yeah, exactly. Like there's a million other things that people have. And also like Petri Blast is everybody has access to Petri Blast. And in a way it is kind of it's an equalizer at max level because like hunters have Feign Death, rogues have Vanish, and you know, like paladins have bubble. They can't bubble hard, but they might be able to use bubble to get out of a certain situation, and then hard after the bubble is over. But what does the warrior have? What do you think hardcore would ever work for retail? No. I'm afraid people will just instantly group whenever shit goes down in the dungeon. Yeah. So what? It's funny. I feel like some people like who cares? Like, dude, if you're the kind of person that's like leaving group all the time, like doing this kind of bullshit, you're never gonna make it to 60 anyway. Because
True.
if somebody like that like has to do this stuff in order to just survive, they're gonna be dead so fast. Who cares? That's not a big deal. They keep hardcore to classic. What's the point? I really don't understand. Because classic hardcore only works because classic battle is a joke. It's a really easy game, and there's nothing in the game that's challenging. That's why it works.
He pisses off so many people when he says that.
Well, I don't really see why they would. The reason why trading in the auction house is restricted, and grouping 2 is restricted.
Oh my god, you know what?
Was not really like the biggest reason, at least, is
I'm such a fucking idiot.
and then have that person
who wasn't hardcore, who had like
Sorry,
max
boys. If
boost.
anybody's watching,
So
just
like yeah,
listening to
softcore trading
nothing.
with hardcore. But if hardcore is only trading with hardcore, then who gives a fuck? Yeah, you're gonna have botting. Here's a hot take. I'd rather have trading and botting than nothing. Sorry, that's what I think. Yeah, I mean, it's a social game. It's an MMO. However, this comes with one omega caveat. There should be an Iron Man mode, and the Iron Man mode will be no grouping, no trading, nothing. Until 60 at least, right? And that could be like a separate achievement. So I do think that there should be something like that, but I don't think that should be the meta. Yeah, one-man army. Yeah, I like that. That sounds really cool. Do you think they should add achievements? I don't know, maybe. That could be cool if they did that. Yeah, maybe like maybe not even an achievement tab, but just a few achievements that like give you titles or something like that. I'm trading on the auction house with super buff Twinks leveling, which is pretty cheese. So this is a big problem that like Blizzard has, and the reason why Blizzard has this is because Blizzard has an audience of players that would rather the game be fair than the game be fun. Being able to trade gear with other people and buy and sell things is more fun than not being able to do that. I don't really care if somebody wants to twink out a character and level it in hardcore. You've got people like Mitch that are having other people level his characters. You've got other people that are cheating on the add-on anyway. You've got people doing a million other fucking things, but you're gonna worry about somebody twinking out on hardcore so it's a little bit harder for them to level? God damn, man. And again, I think that all of these concerns are immediately fucking solved if you just make it to where there is a solo self-found Iron Man mode. No grouping, no trading, no auction house, no mailbox, nothing. Just add that
she got me.
in, and then anybody who wants to play like that can play like that. But don't make everybody else do that shit, because it sucks. At least have the option? Yeah. Hardcore is a personal challenge? I don't really think so. I think that obviously, like, it's a... It's... People want to...
I thought I got out of that shit.
People care about being able to show off, okay? Like, that's what really matters. If you don't want to do it, you shouldn't have to, for sure. Exactly. It's not like it's a feature that's only available for a select few. Yeah, and I also want to say, takes away from the challenge. Well, so does playing a hunter. Like, there are things that are going to... And also, like, doing certain quests take away from the challenge, or add to the challenge. Like, it's just... There's a million things that take away from the challenge, but is it worth making the game worse as a whole in order to make everybody play the exact same way? I don't think so, man. I really don't think so at all. So that's basically how I feel.
Blizzard's being smart with this. I like it.
And we'll watch one.
I think they know what they might have with this fucking game.
And we're gonna see what happens and what Blizzard's got to say. This is the guy actually who announced. It was on his stream after the Classic WoW Hardcore event that they announced hardcore servers were going to happen. So give me 1 second. I'm going to mute the music and we're going to listen to this. Here we go. Were you playing hardcore yourself? Maybe a little bit, but so like before I get into it, I'll talk about this just for a second. I don't like. I have so many other things that I need to do. I don't know if I can justify streaming Classic WoW Hardcore all the time. Like, I will probably do it at the beginning for content, but like playing this consistently, it's just not worth it. Because like I have a million other games that I want to play, I have other things I want to talk about, other things I want to do. Like if I was only a WoW streamer, of course I would do this. But I'm not. Used to be though. I did used to be a WoW streamer. Like I used to only stream WoW, and it was Actually, very stressful. Streaming WoW all the time was quite stressful and like very draining mentally because, yeah, it was very, very
Fudge.
not good. Here we go. Let's take a look at this.
The official Hardcore Realms have just been announced on the PTR. They will be coming tomorrow. But before that, I want to break down what we should be able to experience and what Blizzard's philosophy was looking like moving forward into the Hardcore Realms. Luckily, today we'll be joined by two of Blizzard's very own developers, Anna Resendez, the lead software engineer, and Tim Jones, the senior technical designer, both of whom had a massive role in us actually being able to experience Hardcore on a Blizzard official capacity. So today they're here to answer as many questions as they can regarding the Hardcore Realms and what we have to see in the future. We're going to get into things like dungeon lockouts. Can we bubble hearth? Can we use Flask of Petrification? And will there be world buffs? Everything you can think of should be answered here today. Thank you guys for being here, and let's get right to it.
I'm Anna Resendez. I am lead software engineer for the World of Warcraft Classic team, and I'm super excited to talk today about Hardcore Classic.
I'm Tim Jones. I'm the senior technical designer on the World of Warcraft Classic team, and I'm also excited to talk to you guys about Hardcore.
I like that we can finally see the official logo for Hardcore.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time.
There it is.
That
Reveal.
yeah, that looks awesome. I'm so stoked. Thank you guys for joining me today. My name is Sarth. As anyone watching this probably knows, I am a enjoyer of WoW Classic. So I'm really excited to get to talk to you guys. Tim, it's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Talk to you about Old War. Yeah. So I'm really excited, and Anna, really nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you too.
Thanks for being here today. Let's get into it. The hardcore community, as you guys know, has been really adamant about the whole solo self-found thing. It's been a community-driven thing, and I know Blizzard isn't usually of the mindset to add restrictions to the way people play the game. Is there anything that you guys are planning to implement for solo self-found, maybe something like a Soul of Iron, like a buff on a personal character that doesn't end up doing as many like trading? I guess we haven't even asked if there's going to be trading, and you haven't officially said if there's going to be trading or auction house or anything like that.
Yeah, well,
I'm glad he starts off with this question.
the main plan for Hardcore is, like very simple. You have one life, but then if you die, however you die, that's done, right? There's not gonna be. We're gonna block the restrictions to resurrect, use Ankh.
It makes sense.
Or any other kind of weird items that could get you back to life. All of that is going to be restricted. So that's basically the base.
Okay.
That said, we're not going to be restricting trading or mail or anything of those. We believe that, a big part of why it is very different in the era servers that currently have the version of the add-on is that not everyone there is actually in the challenge, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like the reason why the restriction was there to begin with was because softcore to prevent softcore from trading with hardcore. That's the main reason.
There's some people that have had that started since the beginning of Classic 2019, and they still have their characters there, and they're just coming back maybe.
Yeah,
just
they have
to raid
Nax
or
gear.
to do other activities, but they didn't participate in the hardcore challenge. And there's also the people that came from Season of Mastery that might also be in this server. So it kind of creates kind of an unfair trading ecosystem with already established gold and economy and everything, so we understand why a lot of the restrictions are there, right? That said, we're really looking forward to see how that happens in our servers, in the official servers, where everybody that is in those servers are participating in the challenge. So we don't want to go out with any kind of extra restrictions. That said, if players choose to, go by the rules the specific rules that they want to go into that are added, they're more than welcome to do that, but we're not going to have any restrictions. And we currently don't have any plans of what you're saying, of maybe we can have an extra note of hey, you did this in the extra mega hard mode, But we're listening, and we are always welcome for feedback, and we can see how the PTR goes and have more discussions, right?
Honestly, I feel like Classic WoW, the reason why these servers exist is a response to emergent player behavior. It's because the players created this mode of gameplay, and Blizzard wants to capitalize on it and legitimize it and make it a real thing for those people. I think that the fact that this exists shows that Blizzard, the reason why they're doing this is to accommodate players and do what they want to do, right? Do what players want them to do. I think that there is a lot of players out there who would like to have a solo self-found hardcore mode of WoW Classic, like hardcore. And I think that, like, what's the problem with adding that? Like, why is it not possible to have, like, a check mark or something like that whenever you make your character to make it solo self-found Iron Man or some style like that, that you can't trade and you can't group? And, like, maybe there's a couple of other restrictions. Why is this not possible? Because I do think that the majority of hardcore players would probably want to be able to trade, especially whenever Blizzard makes official servers, which will increase the amount of people that will be interested in this idea in general. So I do think that, like, having trading on by default is a good idea, but I absolutely think that there should be a separate structure to reward players for going through the game without trading, especially up to level 60. Like, at level 60, I feel like all bets are off. Who cares what people do? But yeah. And, like, would delay hardcores if you add too many new features. I think this is a really important feature, though. I genuinely think this is a very important feature. It should absolutely be in the game. Like, I'll be real. This should be in the game a lot more than their duel to the death mechanic should be in the game. Like, how many people are going to be doing duels to the death? Like, nobody. But, like, the solo self-found thing is way more important than that. Like, if you're going to add any feature into the game, besides, like, obviously anti-griefing stuff, you're going to have solo self-found be number one. So, yeah, I absolutely think that they should do that.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if you want to add something, Tim.
Oh, I think you mentioned, like, would we be incorporating, like, maybe a Soul of Iron style mechanic in hardcore? And the plan is to incorporate the Soul of Iron as it was in Season of Mastery into hardcore. It's largely just a cosmetic.
Somebody says solo self-found is a self-imposed challenge. If someone wants to do it, just do it. Yeah, but wouldn't it be better? Okay, like, you're right. But wouldn't it be better if Blizzard had a mode and, like, let's say, like, you get to level 60 and you have Soul of Iron and you did the Soul Self-Found? Like, what if it was, like, you know, your character name, like, comma, Soul of Iron, or hardcore and then character name? I think that'd be really cool. Yeah, why not? Yeah, Iron Man or something like that. Yeah, I think that'd be badass. Like, yeah, they don't need to do this. It's not like they have to. Of course, people can do it on their own, but I just think it'd be way cooler if it was in the game. I mean, fuck. I mean, like, the reason why we're watching this video is because Blizzard responded to feedback, so I'm giving further feedback. That's it.
Tracking of whether you have died or not, which everyone will know whether you've died on an official hardcore.
Yeah.
So that point is kind of moot, but it does, like, have a cosmetic tracker of what end of which end raid tier boss that you've killed. And like Anna said, if the add-on already does an incredible job of tracking these accomplishments that people have while leveling, fighting super hard quest content at relevant levels, or completing dungeons at relevant levels, or other types of challenges. If there is a desire from the community for that to be represented in sort of the same way that Soul of Iron does, then we'll listen to that feedback. And
what a great fucking answer. Perfect. Yes. Awesome. Great.
And incorporate that into designs if there's a desire for it.
Awesome.
Okay, awesome. I think that's really exciting, because hearing that you guys are open to the idea of, if the community has a very strong feedback on something like that, I think is really exciting to see that you're, like, willing to work on things. On that note,
If you want it, yes.
right
yeah.
now, including like restrictions, we talked about not really having too many with things like the trading. There is a current within the add-on and within the community built-in restriction for one dungeon, and only being able to do that dungeon once. It kind of gives the aspect of if an item dropped on that run on that character, you get really excited. It's the blessed.
By the way, I actually am not a big fan of you can only do the dungeon once. But like what I had wanted them to do with dungeons, which it seems like they're not doing this, is I actually think that you should be able to farm dungeons for gear, but you shouldn't be able to farm dungeons for experience. And in my mind, this is my opinion, what I wanted them to do is 3x or 5x the quest experience from doing the quests, the dungeons that lead you to the dungeons, and to reduce the experience gained from killing the mobs in the dungeons by like 90%. So doing the dungeon the first time would reward you with effectively the same amount of experience that you would have gotten if the experience is the same as it is now. And you can also further farm that dungeon in order to get the pieces of gear, but further farming the dungeon would not be efficient in terms of experience. That's what I think they should do. They're adding a cooldown to it, which is like, I understand that, but there's a couple of quests where like, you know like that bandana quest in the stockades? Sometimes you don't get all of them the first time. So are you gonna have to wait to do it again like tomorrow? Or like, are you just fucked forever? I don't know. You remove experience from dungeons. I don't think you should remove experience. I think it should just be almost nothing. I think removing it feels really bad, but reducing it by 90% doesn't. Like maybe it's like a weird psychological thing. And I think also the other secondary effect of buffing the experience that you get from the quests that lead you to dungeons is that it incentivizes players to pursue the quest that leads you to dungeons. And oftentimes the quests that lead you to dungeons are quests that take you all around the world. Like for example, there's the quest in the Desolus that you have to kill like those 20 Ravagers or whatever the fuck they are, those skeletons. So people are gonna go all the way over to Desolus just to do that quest. And incentivizing more open world gameplay and going around the world to collect all of these quests and do all of these different cool quest lines that lead you, the precipice of this quest line, the climax of the quest line is doing to a dungeon, I feel like that is peak WoW. Like, that's really cool. So incentivizing those quests more and then lowering the experience that you get from the dungeons for killing them over and over, I think incentivizes dungeon farming, incentivizes people getting the quests for the dungeons. It de-incentivizes people for experience grinding inside of the dungeons, which is kind of antithetical to classic WoW. But it also gives people the option to do them once or twice more if maybe they missed a quest item, or maybe they just want to farm for a piece of gear. Because every single time that you do that dungeon, you are undertaking the same risk of losing a character. Like a lot of deaths happen in dungeons, like accidental pulls, mob runs away, etc. And I think that it's okay for you to take that risk if you want to get a better piece of gear. And that's, I don't know, like, wouldn't that enable boosting? Get carried through every dungeon for the quests only? Yeah, people could boost you, but you could still get boosted now. Like, so they, and that's a yes and a no question. Because yes, you can get boosted now, and you will not be able to get boosted in hardcore servers in the same way. No, you can't boost, but think about it like this, right? Boosting on Season of Mastery is effectively dead, but if you run a character through a dungeon, that character still receives the loot from the dungeon, and that character still receives the quest experience from the dungeon. And I would rather add in features that incentivize people to play the game the way that it was meant to be played and create the most fun experience possible, rather than having these over restrictions added into the game to prevent somebody from maybe taking advantage of them. Like, in general, it's one of those situations where, like, a phrase for this often is that the cure is worse than a disease. So like you end up doing something that's actually worse than what the problem was in the beginning. So yeah, people are always going to find different ways to exploit, etc. And I would just rather have the game just be fun. Like that's really what it comes down to.
Run. Does Blizzard have any plans on implementing any sort of dungeon restrictions or walkout restrictions for the hardcore realms?
Yeah.
Yes, we're gonna have the restriction of you will only be able to do one dungeon per day. It's a bit different than the add-on restrictions, but it's
Yeah, I really hope they can listen to what I was saying, because I genuinely think that it's a great idea. And if they disagree and they don't want to do it my way, fine. But I do think it is a tremendous improvement over one dungeon a day. I think it's a big improvement.
It's gonna basically work like a heroic, where you can only do one dungeon
One of each dungeon.
time a day.
Yeah, it's like heroic
And
dungeons,
that
like she
restriction
said.
is going to be lifted by the time you get to the level 60. So you are able to, go and do all the dungeons and get the gear and all of the things that you want to.
This type of restriction sort of
Yeah.
it mostly serves the case of we really want to emphasize being out in the world and doing questing content and experiencing other players, like running into other players in the outdoor world. And we don't want like dungeon cleave or spell cleave to be the primary way that people feel obligated to level up in.
Yeah.
So we really feel like that the 24-hour lockout timer on
Yeah, like the thing that you don't want is you don't want people to go in and just like level through dungeons the whole time.
on dungeons will help facilitate that. And like we said before, if people want to impose extra restrictions on themselves, we're 100% in support of the modding community for hardcore doing that. But at this time, we don't have a plan of making it so that you can only do one dungeon for the entirety of your level up process.
I think that's stupid.
Yeah, I think that'll work out really well with people that play the game all the time are gonna out-level the dungeons no matter what, and then people that are playing very casually will be able to go back and run it again, and that'll should be really enjoyable.
Exactly. And yeah, like Anna said, there's no such restriction for level 60 players. Level 60 players won't incur
Which
any
makes
lockout
sense, too.
for dungeons. If you're a druid and you got to farm Nomergon, then go for it, man.
Then you have to do it. Does that mean inherently within the game systems, will there be issues grouping with level 60 players? I know that's currently within the system of hardcore, but would that mean there's any sort of restrictions going on there?
You're absolutely right. Players who are not level 60 will not be able to get into the same dungeons as level 60 players. So it'll prevent max level characters from boosting people through dungeons. And there will be the same sort of XP penalty system that existed in Season of Mastery and Wrath Classic, where if there's too big of a differential between the lowest level person and a high level person in a group, sub 60, then XP will be nerfed to encourage players of a similar level band to take on those challenges.
Yeah, I think that was very well received, getting rid of the boosting. So
I think that's good. Just good.
That'll be really nice. Without the restrictions then, and without the boosting, we're going to see everybody mostly level in the open world. There is a hot topic around players right now around using things like world buffs in the open world and getting world buffs. And are there any changes or plans to change world buffs and how they interact with players at all within the hardcore realm?
Please do not change world buffs. World buffs are great. I love world buffs. They're super fun. World buffs are what makes Classic WoW Classic WoW. Everybody grouping up, getting excited. Oh my God, there's going to be an Ani head drop. Fuck yeah. I think world buffs are really fun. And then whenever you're leveling, you're like, oh man, there's going to be a world buff going out. I want to go over to Stormwind and get the buff, and then we can go level and do this quest. Nah, man, I think that's fucking awesome.
There's no plans on changing how world buffs behave.
Yeah. People say remove it. They already tried that in Season of Mastery, and the game died. Like, we already have an example of them doing that. It killed the game. So, like, I understand that you might think it's a bad idea to have world buffs, but they tried it. They did. They tried it. I said, okay, you said you didn't want world buffs? All right, fine. Well, let's go ahead and take them away. Okay, everybody quit. So it looks like you like them after all.
You'll be able to get the Chrono Boon Displacer on Hardcore Realms.
Yeah.
You know, I think we've learned some lessons from Season of Mastery and not having world buffs. And yes, they make your character incredibly powerful, but at the end of the day, they're one of the biggest they're an incredibly fun social event to gather up for, especially in hardcore.
Exactly. They're a fun social event that people want to gather up for in the game. Like, it's like, again, you have these fake fucking hardcore players. Like, oh, wow, well, world buffs make the game too easy. Bro, you're fucking garbage at video games. You're playing hardcore classic WoW. So every class is a one-button rotation. Like, you can level to 60 being completely brain dead. We watch clips of these people that are clicking their abilities at level 60. What the fuck are we doing talking about, oh, well, we have to make it really hard? If you made it really hard, you'd have everybody quit the game like they did whenever Blizzard released All-the-War. The fuck are we talking about here? Stop it, please.
Feel that it is exciting to be able to get Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer.
It's fucking
and then
awesome.
Be like,
Whenever you're like a level 12 rogue and you get Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer, you feel like a fucking god.
Can go do Barons. I can level up really fast now, and it's also going to be interesting on a fresh server where no one's at max level. No one's going to be dropping these buffs.
Yeah, and it makes the buffs happening even more impactful. Yeah, if you want to challenge, play a hard game. Stop trying to create this like pseudo unfun difficulty in classic WoW. What the fuck? Yeah, go to play retail. Retail's actually hard.
At the start, and it will be a special event towards the beginning when these buffs start dropping. So I think we want to maintain sort of how unique the social gathering is for world buffs, even in hardcore.
We are though gonna be removing the debuff limit and the buff limit.
Yeah, again, that's a very good thing. People would buff you to like troll you and shit like that. So yeah, I think that's a great thing. Big positive.
That's huge.
So you're gonna be able to have as many buffs as your heart desires. Yeah.
That's it felt really bad in Classic having classes that just couldn't use your abilities because
it was so stupid.
Didn't do enough for other abilities. It would like take over deep wounds and stuff. So that's amazing. I think all like hunters and druids everywhere are gonna be really happy.
Yes.
Warlocks casting dots in a raid?
Imagine
what's happening here.
You actually get to use your abilities. That's wild.
Yeah.
That'll be hopefully very, very well received. With the social aspects, like the world buffs, getting the first ones is going to be one of the most exciting things on the realm.
Everybody's going to be there.
But the social aspect of hardcore also leads itself to griefing, and I know.
Also, like, by the way, I don't think you should be able to receive world buffs if you have if you had a Iron Man, like if you had a solo self-found mode. I don't think that characters that were opted into solo self-found should be allowed to receive world buffs. Little minor thing, and like maybe they can't do it, but like if it was possible, I would say they can't receive world buffs.
A lot of people are encouraged to play the game their own way.
Why not? Because it's interaction with other player. The idea of it is that you play the game without interacting with other players.
but Blizzard has been cracking down on griefing as much as possible lately.
Yeah.
So could you give us a little insight into how you plan to deal with griefing, or kind of try to prevent it, so that someone that's been leveling for like the last month doesn't just get deleted for something they couldn't avoid?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna talk about like specifically what we're gonna be
But yeah, I think this is a huge issue because like there is going to be a lot of gray area with griefing. And if you allow people, and this is like one of the problems and like concerns that I had with like Classic WoW hardcore realms in general, like the official ones, is like, how do you, like, I think one of the reasons why hardcore works is because there's appeals. If there's no appeals, the reward system for like getting somebody's character killed is way higher.
doing for PvP.
Okay.
Because PvP, you know, other players sometimes are the main culprits that might that are
Oh, absolutely.
of this kind of behavior, right? So, for example, we have been looking at different situations that have arisen, like, for example, people right-clicking on a flight master and then like, oh, there was a rogue there, surprise, now you're flagged. So the main thing is that we want to make that PvP interactions are 100% like something that the player wanted to engage on. So the first thing is like servers are gonna be PvE only.
Yeah, baiting people into PvP and then killing them on a hardcore character. This is just cringe loser behavior that, if Blizzard allows it, is just going to make the game full of cringe losers. Because any normal person wouldn't want to play this.
And the second part is that really the only way that we want you to get flagged for PvP is by you typing flagged PvP, right? Like, we don't want any like right-clicking into stealth characters or any of those behaviors. We're really going around and like looking and trying to fix all of those. So it's like something that the player actually has to go and ask for it. So I would encourage also for anyone that goes into the PTR, if you see some behavior that happened that is like, hey, I got flagged for PvP and I wasn't looking for it, let us know also, so we can also go in and, you know, add certain behaviors there. So
I think they should also make the flight masters unattackable in general. Like, I don't see a reason why you shouldn't do that. Just make them unattackable.
So that's one of the biggest ones that right now we're looking into, kind of like PvP. It's because you want to, but we also want to encourage it for the people that are looking for that. So like, I don't know if you have heard about like the Duel to the Dead, that it's coming up. That it's gonna be a very like conscious, a special kind of duel. You still can duel if you want like regular duels, but if you want to do one of these, it's gonna be with a very explicit, I'm here because I want to kill you, you know. And like something really cool is like, if you get to kill to defeat an opponent, you're gonna start getting a cosmetic buff, basically saying like how many people you have killed by like maybe an ear icon, maybe giving a reference to other games, you know. So it's something that it's coming up, but it's...
Yeah, I think the buff is a really cool idea. I like that a lot.
We want it to be something that is like very conscious. Same with battlegrounds, you know, queuing for random battlegrounds is not going to be allowed, or it's going to be disabled. But if you still want to play against other players in Warzone and kind of have like a bloodbath in Warzone, go ahead, go do it. But you're going to have to do it via a war game, so you're gonna have to find the group and duel them basically and get into the
Yeah.
We have also had other areas where we have like trying to reduce the griefing. Like, Tim can talk to you a little bit about, for example, kiting mobs and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. Yes. So like, we all have seen the video of Taramis being kited from...
They watched my video! Bro, that was such a good day. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, that was such an insanely good, funny fucking day. I had such a good time doing that.
Blasted lands to unsuspecting adventurers in Elwyn. And while that might be funny to watch
it was.
as an observer, it's miserable as the actual person getting killed. So creatures will sort of respect zone boundaries, and we're building a system to prevent creatures from being able to be kited outside of blasted lands if that's the creature's zone of spawning. So that will be something that we're doing. I know Anna briefly touched on.
What a video. I'm surprised people don't remember this. Asmongold brings a dragon to Stormwind, and there was 80,000 people watching the stream. Get summons out for these people. Take them all the end is here. That kills like 5 people. Yep. This was
Don't
so
go into the
fucking
water.
good, man.
Yeah, we need more fire resist.
Oh my god. Yeah, the father of griefers. Hey, that's how I know what they need to fix.
We're looking at quests one by one to see, like, was this a quest that flagged people for PvP unintentionally?
Yeah.
We're preventing that from being able to happen. Even quests where, like, escort quests in particular have been sort of targets for interference. And we're changing the faction templates on those creatures that are the escortee, so that they can't be pulled out of combat to screw with that person's experience doing that quest. Might ruin the fun for someone out there, but I think we're preserving the leveling experience. It's better for that person actually trying to do the quest.
It's the right decision for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned there's some quests. You mentioned quests that have been notorious to get griefed, like in Westfall, the Defias Messengers already been fixed. But there are some quests where there's things that you can't really do, like inside of Blackrock Mountain, the quest for like getting a key or like potentially
so Sarth is talking about the quest that you talk to the ghost in order to get the Shadowforge key. So yeah, how do you do that? That's a good question.
Your elixir quest for the link quest, right?
Yeah. You can't do that one too.
Do you guys have any plans on adjusting those so they're possible to get done by players doing or playing on this realm, really?
100%. Those quests are already fixed so that they're doable on hardcore without dying. Specifically, the Vidir elixir quest for the Lincoln Ungoro line, instead of killing you when you drink it in the Gadget's End graveyard, it'll take you to like 1% HP and give you a near-death experience, but you won't be dead. And so for the next 5 to 10 minutes, you'll be able to go north into the hills. Just probably heal to full before you do that, so you don't get killed by random scorpion or something. But under that aura, with that aura being active, you'll be able to talk with a quest giver there. And same with the Shadowforge key quest line for Blackrock Depths. You'll be able to gaze into the spectral fire in the corner of that room, and when you get that aura, you'll be able to interact with the quest giver without being dead.
That's great.
So
awesome.
we're definitely looking at all the red flag quests that have been mentioned by the hardcore community, and
just
doing our best to address every one of those. So those changes should be live on the PTR.
That was gonna cause so much frustration. There's 2 things that you mentioned that I don't want to gloss over too much on, but I wanted to. So you mentioned the Mock Raw potential system where you could also have like a cosmetic on your character showcasing your wins. I know the community has expressed like any interest in potentially looting the person you've defeated or anything like that, but seeing like any sort of cosmetic I think is amazing. So the Makra is a very standard system where everyone has to opt into it, but
it would be kind of cool if you could Makra somebody and then like loot their head from their body. That would be really cool.
Will still be able to normally duel, and you will get this cosmetic for as many wins as you get, right?
Yeah, only on the duel to the deaths. Like if you do a regular duel, we're not gonna be counting those. Those are not real ones. But this one, yes, it's kind of like a hint of like, hey, look, I'm a very, very like really good opponent. So that said, though, there's gonna be certain restrictions of like levels, because of course we believe that like in order for you to get a token, it should be like a fair match, right? And not like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna be dueling people that are level 1, kind of like those kind of restrictions. So we are adding some restrictions level wise. So it's a fair opponent that you're competing against. But yeah, it's definitely something. I'm like super excited. Like I'm just excited to like when people get to like do the first tournament with Duel with the Dead. I'm gonna be like watching there with like eating popcorn and see like how it goes. Really
That's
excited.
those tournaments. There's a lot of plans in the works for doing tournaments
Nice.
for those. And you mentioned the PTR, and now everyone should know about
I'm also very excited for. I think that's going to be so cool.
PTR. Are there gonna be level restrictions on PTR held for tournaments at all, or is everything gonna be available? And what are you guys looking out for anyone that's playing the PTR to report to you to help enhance the
content,
experience
yeah.
of the live
Great
rounds?
content.
And overall, like the main things that we are looking forwards for players are we're gonna be especially on the looks of us. If there's any other new kind of griefing mechanics that you are finding, like we already talked about this quest, but if there's like a quest that we missed, or if there's also a different like way of like you got flagged for PvP, so those kind of behaviors or like kind of like unfair deaths, because we are also adding certain mechanics to minimize what we deem as like unfair deaths. Like for example, disconnecting mid-flight and then like you just die, like fall to your death, right? So we're adding
Yeah.
some mechanics there to kind of like minimize those kind of things. So if there's certain behaviors like that, please let us know. That said, there's no plans. For example, if the whole servers go down and there's like certain situation like that, we also want players and everybody.
And this is a thing, right? Is like, so how do you handle disconnects? Because like PoE auto logs you out and it deletes your character from the world instantaneously. Diablo 4, you don't? Okay, that's fine. But is that really fun in Diablo, for example? Somebody just disconnects and then they lose a level 100 character. I think that kind of sucks. So it's like, I actually don't know how they can solve this problem. Like with an ARPG, it's totally different. But like with an MMO, I really don't know what they can do. Because like you would obviously, if you saw things going wrong, you would just instantly disconnect, right? So Alt F4 would basically just be a petrify, so you'd have to kill them. Yeah. Why the fuck would you DC? Well, if DCing automatically logged you out, because there would be a massive DC meta if people did that. It's impossible. It's too easy to abuse. Yeah. I feel like there's no way they can. Like I'm trying to think through like any solution. I really can't think of one. But it just really sucks that like that's a problem, you know?
That wants to join this challenge to also kind of recognize that this is a risk they're willing to take, right? Like getting into hardcore comes with risks. You might die to another player, you might die to the environment, but there's also some things that might be out of our control that also are out of our Blizzard control that we're not gonna be able to bring back. So
Cat
really,
jumps on the keyboard.
just keep an
Because Blizzard cannot ever restore somebody's character. They cannot do that. Like, and I know people have solutions for this, like maybe have a cooldown on disconnects once a day. If you have that, then as soon as that cooldown is up, people quit playing the game that day. Like, any solution that you have to it in WoW, I feel like is really kind of bad. And it's because it's a multiplayer game and just like by the nature of the way WoW works. OSRS recently added a teleport crystal. If you're DCing or not moving for a few seconds, you can set up the delay yourself. I don't know. Maybe somebody has a better solution and has thought it through more than I have. But like right now, I can't think of a single thing.
try on that and like but let us know if it's something that like we can potentially add. Let us know. Yeah.
And since you mentioned that and unfair deaths, and it seems like you're doing everything you can to minimize that, does that mean that there is going to be zero appeal system within the game? If anyone dies, they're just like, you've lost it. We're not rolling back anything.
They can't. They cannot.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, they cannot. Like this is, they can't.
That's correct. I mean, we're trying to be as proactive as possible to create systems like preventing creatures from being kited throughout zones. We mentioned that earlier, and the flight disconnect. Like if you ever dismounted from a taxi, the game will check whether or not you're in a situation where you would fall to your.
Somebody says you can, but they won't. No. So this is what the difference is. Let's say that somebody is running away from a mob and then they disconnect. How can you, if you're Blizzard, know that they disconnected on purpose in order to appeal and get out of the situation? You can't know. And guaranteed, if they allow this, if they allow the appeals, everybody is going to do that. It is literally opening Pandora's box. As much as I think the appeal system is great, I do not think Blizzard should do it.
Death, and if you would, then it will attempt to teleport you to the flight master that you started the
I've thought about this a lot.
On. And if it can't do that, then it'll try to teleport you to the nearest graveyard. So you're correct. There's going to be no appeals process, but we're going to try to prevent those unfortunate, uncontrollable deaths proactively.
With the
there are a lot of things that happen that, like, most of the times people that are appealing things that Blizzard is fixing anyway. If Blizzard let community review appeals themselves, would this open it up for corruption? Yes, I don't think that they should do that. I think it's just too impactful. Like, for example, League has community things like that. I think that, like, you can give the community power over, like, oh, does somebody get silenced for a week or something like that? Because, like, who cares? But, like, whenever you're taking somebody's character that they potentially put, like, days of time into, and you just put that up to, like, a random jury, this is gonna sound like I'm arguing against our own legal system, but you could have some real fuck-ups there, you know?
Fortunate deaths kind of being mitigated. I know a lot of the community has been seeing some raids happening lately where
Somebody brought up a great point in chat. They need to fix the vertical attacking.
guilds or raids have been using petrification flask or bubble hearth, and there's some restrictions on the current hardcore like community, but is there going to be any restrictions for anything like that on the actual hardcore realm?
Yes. Do you want to cover this, Anna? Or?
Yeah, I can go on there. You can talk about the petrific
Sure.
Yeah.
flask. Sorry, my tongue. Anyways, but there's gonna be certain class restrictions. So, for example, Ankh, of course, it's out of the question. But also, Bubble Heart, as known to the community, it's also gonna be disabled. Like, we're not gonna allow players to kind of like use their mechanics in that kind of way. So, yeah, those are gonna be out of the question. We have
The difference between Bubble Hearth and Vanish and Feign Death is that Vanish and Feign Death can fail or not work properly. Bubble Hearth has a 100% success rate. There is never a situation where Bubble Hearth will not work.
we have done a very, very like big conversation about the petrification flask, and like Tim can give you more about like the logic that we have behind it too.
Yeah, sure. I think, you know, this is a brand new environment for players. The economy is going to be fresh, and you know, on Era Realms, you have people who've been playing since 2019. You have people who were playing in Season of Mastery who have transferred, and there's less regulation, I think, in the hardcore community of resources being traded between each other. So
I think there's a spirit of the game argument to be made. Like, I think that bubble hearthing is against the spirit of the game. I think that trading with softcore is against the spirit of the game. I think trading hardcore to hardcore is not against the spirit of the game. And I don't actually, this is going to be a very unpopular opinion, it could be, but I do not think that Petrification Flask is against the spirit of the game. I don't think so. The reason why I don't think so is that it is extremely expensive. Like, for example, if Petrification Flask was like a level 5 thing that you could just buy as many of them as you wanted, I would absolutely think so. But I think that the RP of trying to farm and get your Petrification Flask so you have your second life, this is going to sound like really, really stupid, but the way that I judge if a mechanic is good or not in an MMO one of the biggest metrics that I use is if it would be in like one of these isekai like MMO animes, like Overlord or Sword Art Online or Log Horizon. Like if something like this would add a cool plot device into a story like this, I generally think it's probably a good or a cool thing for a game to have. There are a few exceptions. But in general, that's a very it's a very weird way for me to look at it, but that's actually how I see things. Because what are those shows? They're narratives and they're stories. So if the narrative and the story is compelling and exciting, then being able to replicate that yourself is what really matters. It's not about the difficulty, it's not about anything else, it's about the narrative and the experience. So yeah, that's what I think.
That might be one reason why petrification flasks are so plentiful at the highest level right now, and we're going to be actively monitoring this and obviously listening to player feedback.
Also requires a block notice, yeah.
But I think having very powerful tools, especially at the highest level when you've put so much time into your character, if you've saved up the resources and crafted a very powerful item that is relatively rare.
Yeah.
I mean, Black Lotus will still be very hard to find. Then it's okay for you to have those types of tools. That's sort of the flavor of Classic, to have these.
Exactly, like the flavor. There it is. The narrative, the flavor, the experience. Fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here with this, oh, I want it to be super hard. You want Classic WoW to be super hard? Quit and go play Lost Ark Belshazzar Hell Mode. Quit and go do Final Fantasy Ultimates. Quit and go do Mythic plus 30s. Quit the game. Stop ruining it with your fake difficulty.
Sort of not oddball, but like they're very unique tools and consumables that you have. So yeah, to start off, there's going to be no changes to Petrification Flask or the leave party teleport out of dungeon mechanic, but we'll monitor that situation. We're just interested to see what the use case of Petrification Flask will be in a server with a brand new untainted economy.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I've just got 2 questions left for you guys because I know your time is
And,
really
oh,
short.
by the way, I think that if they do Classic WoW and Petrification Flasks become like the end all and be all of playing the game at level 60, and it becomes like such a consistent thing that everybody needs to have it all the time, constantly, maybe it's not a good idea. I don't know. And I think that there is a place where maybe they could get rid of it, but I don't think so. It'll be too expensive.
There is currently within the
It'll be
add-on
super
itself,
expensive.
one of the favorite things most people like is obviously the announcement system and seeing how people die or like their last words. Do you have any plans on implementing that, or would you encourage people to maybe keep the add-on for something like that?
We are implementing some announcements for sure. Yes. So guild chat. Whenever someone dies, if they're in your guild, you're gonna be notified about it. And then whenever someone gets to level 60, it's gonna be announced on the server. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, there's gonna be some official.
That's really cool that there's like a level 60 announcement. That's badass.
60, it's gonna be announced. So guild chat, whenever someone dies, if they're in your guild, you're gonna be notified about it. And then whenever someone gets to level 60, it's gonna be announced on the server. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, there's gonna be some official notifications.
That's really cool that there's like a level 60 announcement. That's badass.
They're going around. Definitely we had to have like a conversation of like, okay, do we really want to be like talking to everyone about like, hey, this person died in the whole server when they're level 2 died, Anna died again at level 3, and then it's like, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So definitely there's gonna be like for that it's gonna be more around the guild, and then for
that's actually a great solution. Yeah, that's really smart.
Like getting to level 60 is like a super big feature that we want everybody to know about, right? And celebrate it.
Yeah.
With that, because that leads perfectly, because that's a really exciting thing that you guys are adding.
Lower
Is there
griefing?
anything
Yeah.
else flavorful or exciting either of you two have specifically worked on, or either of you two are specifically excited about for the hardcore realms that you think people should like keep their eyes on?
I know. I'm just.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Anna.
because for me, my favorite is really the Duel to the Dead and all like those like little things, and we already talked about it, so I'm just so excited about it. But yeah, I don't know. And overall, I'm just really excited about hardcore and like just see how like come in the official servers and even in PTR, like just to go see that. Like, oh, the other thing too is that if you die, you become a ghost and you can still go back to the world as a ghost. So that's the second thing I know that I think about it. That's another thing I'm excited about is just see like, will people actually stay as ghosts and maybe create ghost community? Maybe there'll be like a guild that is full of ghosts or something and just roam around. I don't know. Maybe
I think that idea is really cool too. Yeah, I think the ghost thing is smart. I like
some
it.
RPs with like the little dots of the night elves just following each other. I
Yeah.
don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, maybe people will just be like, okay, I'm gonna go transfer to the Era servers and continue my journey there if that's what they want. But like,
You know what they should also add? Maybe they could add something to where like it gives you like spectral glasses to where you can see the ghosts. That would be pretty cool, right? Like a special item. Yeah.
That'd be dope.
really excited to see if there's gonna be any ghost communities. Maybe I don't know.
I think I'm like, for me, you know,
Stay far
a
away
lot
from
of what
ghost
I've
share,
worked on for
yeah.
hardcore is revolved around just improving the quality of life of quest content, making sure people don't get flagged unintentionally, and so just seeing people have a good time that is uninterrupted, and not being sort of negatively impacted by people wanting to ruin their experience. I think that'll be the greatest success for me to see. I'm also just excited
I
to
mean,
play.
if they can succeed at that, I will, like, unironically regain faith in Blizzard in a tremendous way. If they can actually stop, like, 95, 99% of griefing in Classic WoW, I will be tremendously impressed.
Like the community in hardcore is so supportive and fun to be around, even if
They're never going to stop
failure
100%,
is imminent.
by the way. It's impossible.
It's just a lot of fun.
But
Yeah,
99 would be really
thank you,
impressive.
Anna. Thank you, Tim. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to share all this information and for putting, like, it's so exciting to see when, like, the people working on the game love to play it and are excited to do, like, get to experience what they've been working on. So thank you guys so much for taking the time today.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sarth. It's
thank
been a
you.
pleasure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really nice meeting you.
Really, really nice to meet you. I'll see you at BlizzCon, hopefully.
Heck yeah.
I think this was a huge W interview. Just straight up. This was great. Like this, every answer I felt like was really well thought out. Like it all made sense. There was logic behind all of it that I generally agreed on. And even the only thing that I didn't agree on with them having a hardcore mode, or like a solo self-found Iron Man mode, the guy literally said, hey, if a lot of people like it, maybe we'll add it. How could there possibly be a better answer than that? That's awesome. Yeah, pretty thorough interview. Yeah, exactly. So huge shout out to Sarth. Obviously, Sarth has been like a huge supporter of the Classic WoW hardcore community. He also did like a whole tournament of like the dungeon runs and everything about that, like the BRD thing. And then it was actually on his stream that they announced Classic WoW hardcore servers officially afterwards. So make sure to give him a sub. I'm going to link you guys his channel as well. And he provides a lot of like really good Classic WoW information. Sarth is a great content creator. He is. He's awesome. An Iron mode like RuneScape? Yes. I think that, again, yes. I think Iron Man mode is, again, the reason why Classic WoW exists, Hardcore Classic exists in the first place is a response to the community. And I think they should add this as well because I think a lot of the community wants this too. Pretty simple. They're changing leash ranges so people don't get killed by overpulling. That kind of stuff that's changing the actual game is bad. They're changing leash ranges so people don't get killed by overpulling. No, they're not. Like, it's not like that. It's not like the mob has like, it's not like it's a dog on a chain, you know, where like, you know, it can only go this far away. What they're talking about is like these like level 60 elite mobs that like you're kiting from like one end of the zone to another end of the zone. Let's not pretend like that's not what's going on. It's for elite, no reason. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't pull a mob halfway across the continent. Of course, you can kite it around a bit. No, legit not memeing, but this. But the reason the scrolling images bottom right so tiny because it's 3%. Oh, no, I don't think so. I just have it like that. And what do you think about NPCs having a dialogue option to choose how hardcore you want it to be? You could have different colored icon soul buffs to distinguish the difference. I think that it should just be an option on character creation. Yeah, that's what I would like. It wasn't clear to me, but if that's it, it's okay. Yeah, it's not like the mob is like, because like realistically, mobs don't chase you halfway across the map. Like that doesn't really happen. So like, what are we really talking about here? Like which mob in specific are we talking about? Because I don't think that we have a lot of clips of that happening. Did they mention Warlock Infernal or Hunter Griefing? Yes, they talked about that extensively. You support self-found mode that would entail being able to get every profession? No, because I would only assume that solo self-found and everything about that would go up to level 60. Like I would assume leveling to 60, that would be the accomplishment. They already set up in Diablo 4, a mob stop chasing and run back as an example. Well, it happens in WoW too. It just like there's nuances to it as well. There were a lot more questions I want to ask. We had super limited time. Glad you watched it. Oh, Sarth is in chat. Look at it. There we go. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think this is a great interview, man. Like, thanks a lot for making it and everything. Like, yeah, huge shout, hearts in chat for Sarth. Yeah, there he is. Server-wide announcement changes are huge. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, like, and I'm assuming what they're gonna do is it's gonna be like a line in chat, the same as whenever somebody got like server first level 80 or like server first like level 80 hunter or whatever in Wrath. I think it's probably gonna be the exact same as that. Like hardcore WoW, I think that what this really gives me a lot of faith in is whatever is going to be Season of Mastery 2 or Classic Plus. Because every single decision and every single answer in this interview I felt like was very thoughtful and it was correct. Because like hardcore WoW is like cool to watch, but like I do think it's kind of a slog, definitely. What am I really excited about is what Season of Mastery 2 is going to be, or especially Classic WoW Plus. That's what I am really excited for. That's what I want to see. So yeah, I'm really, really glad to see these changes. And I think that every change that they made is a good one. I do think that they should go with the dungeon, they should change their dungeon thing, but I hope that they'll listen to community feedback for that. PTR start when? It's going to be later on today, considering like it's past midnight. But yeah, it's happening. I don't know if they gave a time, but it's going to be today. Buff and debuff stacking will change the meta. Good. Make the game more interesting. That's fun. Is Classic WoW Plus an actual thing? It was, so Agrand, who actually came on Sarth's stream after the announcement of Classic WoW Hardcore, said that they were working on 2 separate Classic WoW projects, and the second one was not Season of Mastery 2. So by process of elimination, people are assuming it's Classic Plus, but we don't really know. Wouldn't it be a good idea if duel the higher level player and kill him, the cosmetic reward would be even better? I think that's too much work. Maybe they could add something like that. Like, I don't think I don't really care. Season 2 is in the works. I think of it as Classic Plus personally. It might be Hopium. Yeah, like what I really hope is that they can just keep adding content into the game. I don't know if the game needs occasional season resets. And like, this is a question, like, I really mean it. Like, I don't know. Because like a lot of games, I feel like expansions are effectively those resets. Because like Lost Ark is running into this problem. Where like tier 3 gear is like there's so much of it that people are just so far behind they don't even want to start playing the game. But yeah, I'm really excited about seeing this stuff, and overall, just general W's all around. This is actually great.
Later, and many at this point would take notice to a rising contender within the MMO genre. Over the years, Final Fantasy XIV would slowly but surely gain a sizable subscriber base.
Yep.
Following a failed initial launch in 2010, after listening to player feedback, the MMO was remade in many ways and relaunched in 2013. It would see steady growth due to these improvements and also the shortcomings of the World of Warcraft.
I remember during that speech he was giving, I was like, man, like, are we sure he's the bad guy? This guy doesn't seem that bad at all. I kind of like him. Yeah.
As players became increasingly embittered with Shadowlands, they started migrating over, including major streamers and YouTube channels.
Bro, look, bro, look at that.
Shadowlands, they started migrating over.
Look at that, man. Like, that's what happened. We're quitting WoW. I remember I watched this one too.
Including major streamers and YouTube channels, creating more.
Damn. As we criticize World of Warcraft devs, start making the game that we know you can make. That's right. Oh yeah, that's right. Remember whenever I would write twitlongers? So like, you know how people would usually use like twitlongers to like cancel someone? Like I would cancel entire games. I would write like these massive fucking twitlongers, and they got super popular, by the way. Like the WoW one that I did, it literally had 1 million people read it. Like there were 1 million, not read the whole thing, right? But like there were 1 million views on the twitlonger, which is fucking wild, man.
Tension within the already tribalistic MMO community as players, content creators, and even employees would take shots at each other over social media. Though subscriptions remain to be hidden, third-party analytics began favoring Final Fantasy XIV to be the most active MMO, with Blizzard.
That was such a bullshit article, by the way. I still am not convinced that Final Fantasy has more players than World of Warcraft. I am not convinced that this is the case. It was a completely bullshit article. The website was using bogus statistics. I don't think so. It might be close. You're right. It could be close. But I don't think it is. Like, based off of everything that I know, it seems like that's not the case. How do you know? No one knows, but I felt like the tools that they used in order to come to the conclusion were incomplete.
Blizzard even sending out surveys attempting to gauge interest in it. For the first time in many years, it was becoming clear to many that the World of Warcraft was losing its hold on the genre.
Yeah, that was definitely true. Like, regardless on how many subs each game has, I think that what he said is true. Like, yeah, it was definitely losing its hold on a genre. Bro, do you remember? I remember whenever I made my video, and like, I didn't really talk a lot about the Dark Portal Pass whenever it first came out, right? I made a video about it, but I didn't really go over it over and over and over. And like, everyone was like, oh, it's just Asmongold. Oh, I hate him. He's that, oh no, it's him again. He's gonna spit on me. And they were so upset about this, right? And then Mad Season drops a 1 hour
I was about to start writing something.
Both sides fucking just demolishing the Dark Portal Pass, deleting the deluxe edition. And we watched the entire thing. It was so good.
It's treason, then.
At BlizzCon 2020, the next step for Classic was announced, and as many expected, players would begin their second journey into the Outland in the Burning Crusade Classic. Much like the base game, the first expansion would be recreated closely to its original run in 2007, but with one exception, the addition of a major cash up element, the character boost.
We are going to offer a level 58 boost for purchase, but it does come with some restrictions. So it's going to be 1 per account. It's not going to be usable on Blood Elf or Draenei. It'll have some...
For many players, the feeling of anticipation was quickly replaced.
TBC equals the Bobby charity. The Bobby charity. Oh my fucking god, man. It's like, the thing is, TBC having the level 58 boost, I don't know, like, it wasn't really that big of a deal. I think it was more of like a, not iconic, but it was more of like a symbolic thing. Where it's like they have the boost, and it's like, okay, this isn't really the way the game was anymore, right? It was just like, it sends a message. And it was weird, man. The Wrathgate Pass? Oh, absolutely.
As character boosts, among other paid services, such as the WoW token, were specifically stated not to be released in the classic version of the game.
It's not classic. It's classic Burning Crusade, and that's not the same thing, Mad Season. Don't turn their words around on them. That's so